About how to read rulers. Right, we've seen these before. You've probably seen them in every classroom you've ever been in. This is a metric ruler. You can tell it's metric because it'll usually have some metric unit in the corner. This one has millimeters. It also has all these tiny ticks and usually one larger tick in the middle. Imperial, we'll see later, has a different mix there, but we'll go over that in a little minute. So the question today is, how do we actually read this? So for example, if I were to make a mark, say here, right across there. If I had something that was about that long, how do we read that ruler? How do we figure out what number that is? So here's the trick. You find the nearest whole value. Okay, so in this case we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is too far. 5 is beyond, so we take 4. Okay, so you write 4. Then you count how many of these little ticks after that value we have. Right, so how many little ticks do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 to reach our goal. And those little ticks, those are our millimeters. Okay, so it's 4.4 centimeters. Right, these large numbers, those are centimeters. These little numbers, those are millimeters. Okay, why does that work? So this, our ones digit over here, that's our centimeters, and of course if we had more than 10, we'd have the tens digit, the hundreds digit, etc. But this digit is the one that we care about, this where we have the millimeters. That's our tenths digit, right? Tenth, right? So 1 over 10. So we can stick our millimeters there because it turns out that 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. Or in other words, there are 10 millimeters in every centimeter, which we can find out here. We've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 millimeters to make up this 1 centimeter. Okay, so that's why we can have the whole number centimeters and then a tenth for the millimeters. Okay, so that's metric. Metric, again, being the nice, simple child that we can deal with. Imperial, a little different. You can see we've got all these little differences in the measurements here, and each one of them has a different kind of meaning. Okay, basically, we count these down in fractions. Okay, first we've got our whole number. So like right up here with the 1, that's 1 whole inch, so just 1. Okay, then we find the next smallest line. So this is the largest line. The next smallest line is this guy right in the middle here. You can guess if it's a fraction, it's right in the middle. That's our 1/2. Okay, and then you keep going down, so you've got this next one here is in the middle between 0 and 1/2. So we're going to call that a quarter. It's a quarter line. And then finally we can keep going down, get the next smallest one in between. Again, doubling that denominator to get ourselves 1/8. And finally the smallest one that you'll usually see, and of course they do exist smaller, but 1/16 is usually the smallest you see on a ruler. Okay, so that marks out these ones up here, but what about all these little guys in the middle here? Well, it turns out that if we just kind of count up how many pieces there are in between, we can find what number to put in the numerator to find that value there. Okay, so for example, if we were numbering all the 16ths, all these little lines, we count all of the lines that are itself or bigger. Okay, so we know that this is 1/16, so that'd be 2/16, which rounds to 1/8, and this would be 3/16. Let's make it a little crowded in here. Okay, then 4/16, which rounds to 1/4, then 5/16, then 6/16, which of course would round again to 3/8. Pardon me. Again, I'm running out of space here. Then 7/16, and 8/16, which would be 1/2, and so on. Right? You can kind of just keep counting up in the 16ths and then reducing. Okay? So then if I were to give a measurement, say, let's stick it over here. Right? So this line right here, we have something that's about this big. How do we find that actual measure? Well, just like metric, we take the nearest whole value. So in this case, it's 1, since 2 would be a little bit too big. And we write that. We write 1. Okay? But instead of doing a decimal, now we have a fraction that we need to find. So we need to know, well, what is this one here? Okay? So let's count them up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sixteenths. All right, so 10 sixteenths. But that's not usually how we write it. We usually prefer to have the reduced form, so instead we write 1 and 5/8. Okay? And that would be your measurement in imperial. So it's a mixed number, meaning it has a whole number combined with a fraction. And we want that fraction in its lowest terms. So that's how we read a ruler, both metric and imperial.